Hollywood used to demand one sentence from every pretty boy: I'm straight. But in the post-label era, the loudest move is refusing to perform certainty. Tonight, we're counting down 10 heartthrobs whose silence, no denial, no neat box, sparked obsession, backlash, and endless proof threads. This isn't about outing anyone. It's about the pressure, the contracts, the rumors, and the right to stay undefined. 1. Shawn Mendes, the boy who was never allowed to be sure. He was 15 when the internet started voting on his masculinity like it was a talent show. Every soft laugh, every gentle hand gesture, every pretty moment got translated into a weapon. Gay rumors, memes, prove it. Shawn wasn't even old enough to drive himself to the studio, but strangers were already demanding a final answer about a life he hadn't had time to live. He later said the speculation had followed him since he was 15, and that it wasn't fun gossip, it was something he genuinely suffered through. And here's the cruel part. People act like being called gay is just a joke, while using it like an insult. Shawn talked about how frustrating it felt, especially because he had people close to him who were gay and still closeted, watching the world treat queerness like a smear campaign. That's the glass closet in 4K. Even if you're straight, the fear is real, because the industry punishes uncertainty more than it rewards honesty. Then came the pop star panic. The unwritten contract that says a male heartthrob must perform certainty. He told Rolling Stone years ago he felt pressure to be seen with a girl in public, like a photo op could solve a rumor. In 2016, he snapped back on Snapchat. First of all, I'm not gay. It shouldn't make a difference. That wasn't hate. That was survival mode. PR meets puberty, with millions watching. But the real plot twist hit on October 28, 2024, on stage at Red Rocks. Instead of another denial, he finally dropped the armor. I'm just figuring it out like everyone. It feels really scary. I'm trying to be brave and just allow myself to be a human. No label, no performance. Just a man admitting the spotlight stole his privacy before he even knew who he was. So tell me, when fans demand clarity, is it curiosity or control? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more stories where Hollywood's silence speaks louder than confessions, hit subscribe. And keep it respectful. This is about pressure, not prying. 2. Harry Styles, the architect of no-label fame. Harry grew up inside a boy band machine where every smile is monetized and every rumor is a headline waiting to hatch. One Direction didn't just sell music, it sold fantasy. And the moment fans started shipping him, the story stopped being his. Suddenly, his private life became a fandom sport. Screenshots, slow-motion clips, body language experts, and the constant demand for one clean word: straight. But Harry never gave them that comfort. Instead, he built a new kind of stardom, where the mystery is the brand. Dresses on magazine covers, pride flags waved like confetti, lyrics that live in the gray, and with every step, backlash came from both sides. Conservatives screaming agenda, and critics accusing him of queerbaiting for using queer aesthetics without issuing a public label. Even interviews became a trapdoor. In a 2019 Guardian profile, he pushed back at the idea he was sprinkling ambiguity for attention, insisting he's not doing it to be interesting, and defending his right to wear what he wants without turning his identity into public property. Translation: stop treating a man's wardrobe like a confession booth. Here's the twist. When the world tried to corner him, he didn't deny anything. He denied the premise. In 2022, he called the demand outdated, saying he's been open with friends, but that experience is his. and that acceptance should mean it doesn't matter. No labels, no boxes to check. That's not silence, that's a boundary. A velvet rope around the part of him the public feels entitled to own. And maybe that's why the discourse won't die. Harry forces everyone to confront their addiction to categorizing. Queer fans want him to confirm he's one of us. The mainstream wants him to confirm he's safe. And he keeps choosing the third option, human. So I need you to weigh in. Is this freedom or marketing? Does no label protect queer kids, or does it profit off their hope? Argue it out in the comments, and subscribe to Silent Fame if you want the next names on this list. Keep it respectful down there. 3. Joshua Bassett, the Disney prince, the internet. Tried to Break Joshua was cast as the clean-cut dream boy in a Disney universe, where your smile is part of the brand and your life is supposed to stay family-friendly. Then one pop song detonated his name. When Olivia Rodrigo's driver's license took over the world, the internet decided Joshua was the villain in a breakup movie and treated him like one. Every comment section became a courtroom. Every paparazzi photo became evidence. And the punishment wasn't scripted, it was real. The pressure didn't just hurt his feelings. In 2021, he ended up hospitalized with septic shock and heart failure, later saying doctors gave him a terrifyingly low chance of survival, and that stress likely played a role. Imagine being 20 years old, watching your body collapse while strangers argue about a love triangle they don't actually know. And right in the middle of that chaos, he did something the industry fears. He stayed emotionally honest. In an interview clip that went viral, he called Harry Styles hot, and then, almost casually, said it was his coming out video. That one sentence triggered a media frenzy, people rushing to label him faster than he could breathe. So Joshua wrote back to the world with the most Gen Z truth possible. "Stop deciding my letter for me." In a follow-up statement, he said, people have told him his sexuality, shamed him over things they don't know, and reminded everyone there are plenty of letters in the alphabet. Sometimes your letter changes, sometimes you realize you're not what you thought you were. He even called himself anti-coming out, because in a perfect world, nobody should have to. That's the tragedy. The same audience that screams for authenticity can turn authenticity into a target. So tell me, did the internet force Joshua to grow up too fast? Or did he reclaim the narrative by refusing the box? Drop your take in the comments and subscribe if you want more stories where fame doesn't just shine, it bruises. And keep it respectful. No outing, just empathy. See you in the next chapter. 4. Lucas Hedges, the prestige prince who refused the straight crown. Lucas Hedges looks like the kind of actor Hollywood wants to frame as safe. Serious roles, serious awards talk, serious face that screams future leading man. But that's exactly why his story cuts deeper, because the industry doesn't just sell talent, it sells certainty. And Lucas grew up learning that uncertainty gets punished. He talked about realizing sexuality isn't a switch, it's a spectrum. And admitting he wasn't at the 100% straight end. Not a headline-friendly label, not a neat PR sentence. Just a quiet truth that's almost more dangerous in Hollywood because it can't be packaged. And he admitted something most heartthrobs would rather die than say out loud. He felt ashamed for not being fully on the easy side. That's the cruelty of the system. One side gets red carpets, the other side gets questions that feel like traps. Then came the irony. He starred in Boy Erased, a film about conversion therapy, about the violence that happens when people think they can fix you. Imagine carrying your own complicated truth while promoting a story where labels become weapons. Every interview is a landmine. Are you qualified to play this? Are you one of them? Are you using queerness as a role or living it as a reality? And when you're young, talented, and hungry, the pressure isn't just emotional, it's contractual. The unspoken deal whispers, don't make it complicated, don't make it political, don't make it hard to sell you. But Lucas did the opposite. He didn't come out as a category. He came out as a human being who refuses to be filed. And that's why people argue about him. Because a man saying, I'm somewhere in between, forces everyone to sit with discomfort. Fans want clarity. Studios want marketability. The internet wants a label to print on a thumbnail. So here's the real question. If happiness is freedom, why does Hollywood only offer happiness when you fit in one box? Does Lucas deserve peace without having to explain himself every time he takes a role? Tell me what you think in the comments, and subscribe if you want the next chapter of this list, because it only gets messier from here. 5. Thomas Doherty, the bad boy who learned that labels are a cage. Thomas Doherty entered fame like a blueprint. Disney glow-up, pretty face, bad boy charm, and the kind of romance storyline that screams safe fantasy. He even had the high-profile girlfriend narrative, exactly the thing Hollywood loves, because it makes you easy to sell. Then he took a role that cracked the packaging. Gossip Girl's Max Wolf, openly pansexual, fearless, dripping in I don't ask permission. And once you play a character like that, the world stops seeing your work as fiction. They start treating it like a confession. Suddenly, every outfit is evidence. Every friendship is proof. Every interview becomes a courtroom where the jury demands a yes or no answer about your private life. Thomas didn't give it to them. He talked about sexuality as a spectrum, about labels being limiting. And that's where the drama lives. Because Hollywood is fine with you acting free until you start sounding free in real life. The industry wants queer stories, queer aesthetics, queer heat. As long as the actors still behave in a way that doesn't scare the mainstream. And Thomas sits right on that fault line. He's dated women, but he refuses to perform that rigid straightness like a badge. He calls it preference, not identity. That one word is gasoline. Fans hear it and start fighting. Is he queer? Is he straight? Is he baiting? Is he brave? Here's the tragedy nobody says out loud. Sometimes the most painful closet isn't hiding who you love, it's hiding how open-minded you are because people will punish you for being unclear. Because unclear is where careers get messy. You stop getting cast as the fantasy, you become a question mark. So, does Thomas deserve happiness without being interrogated? Or do celebrities owe us definitions because we made them famous? Go argue it out in the comments. And hit subscribe if you want stories that don't just gossip. They expose the machine. 6. Jacob Elordi, the 6'5" heartthrob who got called gay first. Jacob Elordi is built like Hollywood's old idea of a man. Tall, sharp, intimidating, the kind of face that can sell danger with one stare. That's why his backstory hits like a twist, because he's talked about being bullied and called gay just for liking acting. Not for dating someone, not for saying anything about himself, just for not matching the rules of boyhood. And that's the origin story of so many pretty boys. The world teaches you early that softness is punishable. Most guys react by overcompensating, hyper-masculine, hyper-straight, anything to survive. Jacob didn't. He flipped the insult into armor. He basically said, if you're going to call me a fairy, then I'll be the hottest king you've ever seen. That's not just a quote. That's a manifesto. It's the moment a person stops begging to be understood and starts owning the projection. Then his roles became a mirror. Euphoria turned him into the face of toxic masculinity. Saltburn turned desire into something twisted, glamorous, and dangerous. And the more he played characters that blur lines, power, obsession, intimacy, the more people tried to solve him like a puzzle. The internet doesn't just want Jacob's body on screen, it wants a definition it can control. Here's the secret that keeps viewers watching. Jacob's appeal isn't just his looks, it's his refusal to be shamed by being perceived as queer, feminine, soft, or other. That's rare in a culture where so many men still treat gay like a bruise. He doesn't swat away the label like it's poison. He swats away the need to label at all. So ask yourself, do we actually want him happy, or do we want him explainable? Drop your take in the comments and subscribe to Silent Fame, because the next names on this list are even quieter, and that silence is where the real drama lives. 7. Ross Lynch, the Disney boy who learned how to say, "I need a second." Ross was manufactured in the clean fluorescent glow of Disney, smiles on schedule, charm on demand, safe enough to be a poster on a bedroom wall. And then he grew up. Not privately, not gently, publicly, in front of cameras and comment sections that don't believe child stars deserve adulthood. The tragedy isn't that people desire him. It's that the desire comes with entitlement. In 2022, he sat down for a Thirst Tweets video and realized, out loud, that half of these tweets are from boys. It's funny for 5 seconds, until you hear the darker subtext. Your body becomes a public park, and everyone thinks they have the right to touch it with words. And if you've seen his Driver-era shows, you know he leans into the heat, shirtless moments, sweat, the whole rock star ritual. Even Teen Vogue framed it as part of the visual language of the tour. Sensual, intentional, designed to match the music. But here's the secret people miss. Performing sexy is not the same as being emotionally available. Performing confidence is not consent to be consumed 24/7. In 2025, Ross told people there are days he gets fed up. Not because he hates fans, but because he gives and gives until he realizes he's not respecting himself. He described how everyone wants a photo, a hello, a piece of his attention, and sometimes it becomes too much and he has to pull back and say, "I need a second." That's a grown man learning boundaries after a lifetime of being trained to never disappoint. So tell me, does Ross owe the world access because he sells a fantasy on stage? Or does he deserve happiness that isn't measured by how available he is? Drop your take in the comments and subscribe, because the next chapter is where silence turns into power. 8. Manu Rios, the elite heartthrob who keeps his real life behind velvet. Manu didn't just become famous, he became projected onto. In Elite, he played Patrick, queer, chaotic, irresistible. The kind of character that turns a slow glance into a scene the internet replays like evidence. And when the show went explicit, it didn't just sell drama, it created obsession. Behind the heat, there's pressure people don't talk about. Filming intimate scenes under a microscope, knowing millions will freeze frame your body, your mouth, your breath, and then argue about what it means. Even cast coverage around season 4 noted the production had an intimacy coordinator, and Manu described the sex scenes as a lot of fun, which sounds light, until you remember fun is sometimes the only safe word you're allowed to use in promo. Then reality hits. The audience wants the character to become the actor. They want a label, a confession, a map. Manu's response, quiet, controlled, has been to protect the part of himself the camera can't buy. In a 2022 interview, he said bluntly that some things need to stay private. He shares what he wants, but he has a personal life he doesn't want to put on social media. That's not evasive, that's survival. And while fans keep trying to solve him, his career keeps expanding. fashion worlds, new projects, bigger rooms. Like he's building a future where he can't be reduced to one thirst trap headline. Vogue's 2025 to 2026 coverage even frames him as booked and moving. More acting, more fashion, more momentum. So here's the debate. When a man plays queer desire so convincingly, does the public get to demand the real answer? Or does he deserve happiness without being turned into a referendum? Sound off in the comments and subscribe to Silent Fame. Next up, the silence gets even louder. 9. Aron Piper, the elite boyfriend fantasy who never signed the label. Aron didn't just play a queer love story, he became one. Elite turned Onder into a heartbeat the fandom could hear through a screen. The quiet stares, the jealousy that felt too real, the kind of intimacy that makes viewers forget they're watching acting. And when the show exploded, so did the projection. The internet did what it always does to a beautiful man with soft edges. It tried to claim him. Then came the split persona whiplash. On TV, he was tenderness and pain with a boy. In music, he leaned into swagger, lyrics and visuals that can feel more straight-coded to some viewers. That contradiction is gasoline. It sparks the comment wars. Is this authenticity? Is it marketing? Is it queerbaiting? Or is it just a human being who refuses to be summarized by one role? Here's the secret that keeps Aron addictive. He doesn't correct the audience. He doesn't rush to issue the classic PR line, "No, I'm straight guy's defense." He keeps his private life behind velvet and lets the work do the talking. Even mainstream queer press has noted he hasn't publicly addressed how he identifies on the sexuality spectrum, despite playing a gay character on a global hit. And that silence is its own kind of tragedy, because the world treats silence like consent to interrogate. People don't just watch him, they cross-examine him. Every photo becomes evidence. Every friendship becomes a courtroom exhibit. But maybe the real question is uglier. Why do we feel entitled to a label just because someone gave us chemistry? So tell me, does Aron owe clarity to the audience that made him famous? Or does he deserve happiness without being turned into a debate topic? Drop your take in the comments. Keep it respectful. No outing, just honesty. 10. Josh Hutcherson, the Hunger Games heartthrob who left the door cracked open. Josh was the kind of pretty boy Hollywood loves. Approachable, boy next door, safe enough to sell as a forever crush. The Hunger Games era made him global. But it also turned his life into a product. Interviews, ships, prove who you are questions dressed up as curiosity. Heartthrob contracts don't always come with paperwork. Sometimes they come with a vibe. Stay simple, stay straight, stay marketable. And Josh did something quietly rebellious. He refused to be 100% anything. Back in 2013, he told out he'd probably list himself as mostly straight. But he didn't slam the door on the future, the exact opposite of the old-school straight denial playbook. Around the same time, he also pushed a line that still makes people argue today. Defining yourself as 100% anything can be nearsighted and close-minded. That's not a coming out. That's a refusal to perform certainty for strangers. And the tragedy? Even when you don't claim a label, the internet will assign you one anyway, then punish you for it. Josh has talked more recently about how fame brought mean scrutiny into his relationship, including rumors and fan backlash during his peak years, the kind that tests whether love can survive the spotlight. Imagine trying to build a real, private relationship while millions feel entitled to rewrite your story for entertainment. He's older now, still hot, still magnetic. But the lesson from Josh is the most dangerous one for celebrity culture. Your identity is not a subscription benefit. You can be desirable to everyone without handing the world the keys to your personal life. So here's the final debate for today. When a pretty boy refuses to confirm what you want, is that unfair? Or is it freedom? So what did we really learn? Fame doesn't just sell faces, it sells certainty. And the moment a man refuses that script, the world panics. Some of these guys chose silence, some chose spectrum. All of them paid a price for being unexplainable. Now it's your turn. Is no label freedom or a new kind of closet? Drop your take below, keep it respectful. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to Silent Fame.